Welcome back to Excel Chicks. In this video, I am going to show you how to create a pivot table. With a caveat that I hate pivot tables. Some folks really love pivot tables, but nonetheless, let's get down to business and I will show you how to create a pivot table. To create a pivot table, we're going to just select the columns we want in our pivot table. We're selecting columns A through T, and we're going to go right up here and click on Insert, and go right here to Pivot Table. We're going to get a pop-up that says Create Pivot Table. We can adjust our range. It's already pre-selected our range because we selected our range before we went to Insert Pivot Table. And then down here, it's going to ask, choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed, in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. So we could choose to put it in an existing worksheet. I'm not going to do that because we don't have enough real estate. And so we're going to click on new worksheet, click OK, and this is where our pivot table is going to show up. And over here on the right, we have our pivot table fields. So we can go through and just play with some of these. Select product name, and you can see that brings a ton of data. Probably not a good idea for a pivot table, but we could look up maybe category and then subcategory. You can see the way pivot tables by default are kind of nested. So you can see our subcategory is nested underneath furniture or a category. So if we want to bring in sales, we can click on sales. I would probably drag it down to values. And this is where you can see, you can specify whether it's sum, count, whatever. Excel is pretty intuitive, sometimes a little too intuitive and it's wrong, but in this case it's right, and we have our sum of sales. If we wanted to also pull in our quantity, we could do that, and it brings in quantity as well. You can see the way the pivot table is set up, that the pivot table has the category with a auto subtotal, and we can get rid of that. So some of the reasons I find people don't like pivot tables, myself included, it's just because of the way it looks, and I like things to be in a more tabular format. We can get this in a tabular format. So to get that, we would right click on the category first and click on field settings. And I'm not interested in my subtotals for categories, so you can click none. And then pop over to Layout and Print and check this, Show Item Labels in Tabular Form, and then click on Repeat Item Labels. All right, and that's all we need to do for this one. You could find if we add additional fields, we would need to do the same. So if we wanted to bring in maybe region, you can see that now we have to edit this as well. So now we would go to our subcategory and click on Field Settings and do the same thing here. Show items in tabular form and repeat item labels. And click OK, and there you go. Another thing we can do in pivot tables is we can pull in filters. So for instance, if I had a particular customer I was interested in, I can pull customer name to my filters, and now I can filter everything by a particular customer. And that is really it. So this is the basics of pivot tables. Again, I'm not a super fan of pivot tables, but I think that they have a time and a place for data exploration. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and until next time.